A little backstory. So I was a security guard for this local company in my area. I was assigned to a water park with another guard who was regularly there keeping watch. He was to train me and show me around and tell me what codes opened what doors. I first noticed how quick he was to enter and leave the property. He never wanted to spend more than 10 minutes inside the property before he would be eager to leave. Our first night was simple. There was nothing exciting or interesting going on, so our night dragged. After a few hours, I asked him if he experienced anything unusual while working here. He told me he's had some problems with people trying to enter the property without permission, but that's about it. He also told me he hated working there because of his encounters with these people. He said that they creeped him out because of how sneaky they were. He didn't really want to tell me much because he was afraid I would leave the post. That should have been a red flag for me, but I was too excited to let anything like that scare me. A few more hours later, and our shift is over, so we clock out and go home for the day. The next night, my boss called me to explain that the security guard, my partner, had resigned. I was a little upset because now I was to work a two-man post all by myself with barely any knowledge on the place. After a couple of weeks, I started to get the hang of the place and created my own routine with no issues at all. No break-ins, no vandalism, nothing. It's now 2 a.m. and I was outside at the front of the property completing my rounds when I heard a door slam from inside. I jumped because of how loud it was. As I started to walk back into the property, I continued to hear doors opening and closing. I could feel myself getting nervous because it was my first situation I've ever had at this place. As I walked inside and started to check the doors and complete a round to make sure there was no one on the property, I got to this corridor where there was a set of stairs that led down to a door that was wide open. I walked down the stairs to close and lock the door because I was too scared to take a look inside. As I turned around to head up the stairs, I noticed a man dressed in all black standing at top of the stairs. I took a step back and realized I'm cornered. If he was to try anything, I would have nowhere to run or hide. So I politely asked him if he needed my help. He didn't reply. I then asked him how he got into the property. He still didn't reply. He slowly turned his head and snapped his fingers. Then from the left side of the staircase, another man slowly crawled to his side like a dog on all fours. I then turned around and kicked the door open, ran inside, and locked myself in the bathroom as I called my boss and told him what I witnessed. They sent an armed security guard to my position to complete a walkthrough, to make sure I was safe. As I got the call that the area was clear, I came out and told them everything from start to finish. I realized that they didn't believe me, so I clocked out and went home for the night. The next morning I received a call from my boss explaining that they checked the security footage from the night before, and what they told me horrified me. Every hour when I would complete my rounds inside the property, those same two men would follow me through the facility as if they were stalking me, like as if it was a game to them. After that I asked for a new position because I'm too horrified to work at that water park. I now know why my trainer didn't want to work there anymore. I work at a cafe downtown. Quite a few homeless shelters in range and a huge drug problem. One day I was working behind the bar and this redhead kid, probably in his early 20s, sits down in our seating area and starts chanting shit under his breath. After a minute or two, he starts moving his hands around like he's casting a spell. He then gets up and starts yelling and disturbing everyone. I walk over to him and tell him he needs to leave for the day. Dude looks me straight in the eye and says, "This is all a giant game. I'll fucking kill you with one finger." At this point, whatever. I get death threats a lot here, no biggie. Shoo him on his way and that's it. Fast forward to when we're closing up, around 9 p.m. I lock the doors and start heading to the parking garage my car is in. It's probably about 6 blocks away, no big deal. Winter up here is insanely dark, so it's pretty creepy in downtown. About a block or two of walking and I hear this hissing noise. I freak the fuck out because I can't see anyone around me. I pick up the pace a bit, then I hear hurried footsteps in the snow behind me. Fuck that. I booked it to the staircase for the garage because I wasn't going to wait for the elevator. I'm about a staircase up and I hear the door I just went through slam shut. I finally made it to my car to get in as fast as possible. I look around, and lo and behold, there's the redhead from earlier. Only this time, he's fucking furious. He sees me in my car and books it full speed and starts hitting my windows, screaming, "I'm gonna fucking kill you." I door checked him and drove the fuck away. Called the cops the next morning and they found the dude. Apparently he thinks he's in the Illuminati and completely corroborated my story to the police. Small jail time and 1 restraining order later, I never saw him again. Shit like this happens way too much. I was working late at night at Colonial Williamsburg. It was my job to turn off the lights at the governor's mansion and a few other places at the end of the night. I got done and was walking to my car and my boss called me and said that I had missed a light. I was pretty new, so I just said yes sir and headed back. Sure enough, a light way up in the attic was visibly on from outside. So I went to the top floor and climbed up there on the little ladder. Once up there were no lights on. I don't think too much of it at this point, so I went all the way down and back outside. Once outside, I started back to my car. My boss sent me a text and asked if I was going to take care of it or not. I told him I did, and he was upset because he thought I was lying. I headed back to the mansion, and sure enough, the light was on. I headed all the way back up there, and the light was off again. I was literally staring out the window that was lit from the outside. At this point, I figured someone was screwing with me, so I headed back out in a huff. I got downstairs, and my boss met me at the door, upset. Are you going to turn that dang light out or not? It was out. Are you screwing with me? So we both headed up there, and the light was off. This makes no fucking sense. There was the distinct odor of a candle, and what appears to be the haze of smoke around the window. I have no idea what that was all about. I worked overnight in a very old but still functional hospital. The building was in despair, but still had patients and staff. We were installing gigabit Ethernet to the top floor and corners so they could put a data center up there. I was in a remote comms cupboard around 1 AM. The only other people in the building were nursing staff and patients, who were locked. Yes, locked in the wards downstairs. So I'm busy clearing out this old comms cupboard when the door behind me shuts. It was wedged open with a fire extinguisher. I didn't hear anything or see anyone. I switched my phone torch on and opened the door, and the fire extinguisher was gone. It must have taken me 5 seconds to turn on my torch and leave the room. The corridor the room was on was long, probably 100 feet in each direction, only a few doors off the corridor into old patients' rooms. I tried every door. Locked. I couldn't find the fire extinguisher either. I checked the room, behind the door, in the bins. I just couldn't find it. So I went down to the security office and reported the incident, suggesting there may be somebody unauthorized loose in the building. They played the CCTV back along the corridor, and sure enough, some guy dressed in all black with bare feet just walks up silently to the cupboard I'm in and grabs the fire extinguisher and legs it down the corridor extremely quickly. The security dudes flew into action, but the guy was never caught.